You can level up Spider-Man to make him stronger, but more importantly to unlock new skills. So while we haven't seen the ability window in action yet, we could of course access it during our recent play session. I also collected a ton of info from over the internet, so here's everything we know so far about the skills in Spider-Man PS4, and it's a lot. So if you enjoyed that, then a like would be super appreciated, and let's go. Let's start with something you might not expect. Like I said, we don't have the footage of the window, but my editor who helps me with some videos on the channel actually made a drawing of how the skill window looks, so we can all make sense of it. As I noted in previous videos, we got 3 different sections. We got the Innovator that focuses on the web shooter skills. We got the Defender for more combat moves, and the Webslinger to unlock new skills while fighting in the air or swinging through the city. Here you see, thanks again to the drawing, that every sort of skill tree, skill section has one main skill, and then 4 rows, with the first 3 rows having 3 abilities to unlock in each row, and then the final row for the Innovator has 2 abilities, and for both the Defender and the Webslinger we only have 1 skill in the final row. So that means that we get 34 skills in Spider-Man PS4 in total. So how the sort of skill points unlock system works is that the first row mostly requires like 1 skill point, and then the further you go down, the more skill points you need. For the Innovator, it's actually that the first 3 rows require 1 point for each skill, and then the 4th row requires 2 skill points for each skill. For the Defender, it's the first row that requires 1 skill point per skill, then the second row requires 2 skill points per skill, and then the third and the 4th row require 3 skill points each. For the Webslinger, it's a little bit different. The first row requires 1 skill point each, and then after that all the skills require 2 skill points each. Meaning that to unlock all the skills you need at least 51 skill points, plus the 2 starting skills in the Defender and the Webslinger line. So according to the info we got, we would say that you need 53 skill points in total to unlock all the skills in Spider-Man PS4. And that falls in line with kind of the suggestion that the max level is level 50, looking at the required level for the final unlock in the game. So that would mean that you get skill points per level, and also sometimes for a story mission or maybe a side mission as well. Insomniac already noted that it will be possible to get all the skills in one playthrough, thanks to Matt on Twitter for asking. So just as the drawing suggests, you need to pick 1 skill in 1 line in order to get to the other one. So it might be smart to already look at the one that is at the end to build towards that if you really want it. I will note all the skills we know so far in a second, but good to note is that for the later skills you do not only need the skill points, but you also need to be a required level in order to activate them. So because we could only play 2 hours, it was very hard to write all the skills down, something I did with most of the God of War skills though before launch. Had a little bit more time there. But luckily, when writing this video, Fandom Wikia came to the rescue with almost all the skills and their descriptions, so we get a better sense of what we can expect. Because just like with the gadgets, there's not like footage of all the skills, but when you play the game, you do see preview videos of all the skills, so you know what they do before you can purchase them, alongside a description of the skill as well. Let's start with the Innovator line first, the left skill line in the window. It starts out with the web throw ability that you unlock immediately. That's the only skill that you do not have to buy with a skill point. So let's take a look at the first line on the left with abilities that you have to unlock after each other. The first one is Hazard Zone that clears the area during a web throw. After that is Spin Cycle that lets you continue spinning enemies during the throw by rapidly pressing the triangle button. And then Wrecking Ball that lets you pick up brute enemies and throw them against other enemies, damaging all the nearby ones. So this line is a good example of something that enhances the web throw main skill of the Innovator line. There's by the way another skill after the Wrecking Ball, as you see in our illustration, but there's no info as to what that is. That's by the way the only skill we don't know at the moment. So let's move on to the next line that focuses more on stealth with Extended Perch Takedown that increases the perch takedown range. Scare Tactics give you more focus for stealth takedowns, and with focus you can of course heal yourself for a small amount of health or instantly take down an enemy. And the final skill in this line is Surprise Attack that upgrades the Web Strike takedown move, so nearby enemies are knocked back. The third line in the Innovator skill section has some handy skills against armed enemies. We got Pistol and Baton Yank that lets you yank small arms from enemies so they become an easier target. Getting the next skill in that line lets you also yank heavy arms like rivals and also shields and launchers as well. With Yank and Throw, you don't only yank the weapon but also throw them back to do some extra damage. And then the final skill in this line is Rocket Return that, as the name suggests, let you return the rockets to the enemies that shoot at you. So fighting enemies like with firearms can be pretty tough, but this skill line helps you with that a lot. Let's see what the Defender skill tree has to offer. So the main skill of this skill tree is a perfect dodge that you have to unlock first, and that lets you counter enemies with a web shot to the face when your spider sense turns blue and you hit circle at the right time. Let's start again at the left line with the first skill. The perfect hit skill is that rewards you with extra focus if you press square just as you land an attack. Then we got Combo Booster that improves the focus gained at a higher combo count. Really nice, so you become more deadly against multiple enemies. And the final skill in this line is Vengeance that lets you regenerate focus faster when you are below half health. The next line in the Defender skill tree is more about the counters. The dodge window increases the time for the perfect dodge and web shot counter, so it's easier to do them. The next skill, Last Stand, slows down time before you take the fatal hit, so you get another chance to dodge, and this can only be used once per combat encounter, otherwise it would be pretty strong, I would imagine. Then we get Payback that rewards a nice dodge, because if you press triangle after dodging a rival or pistol enemy, you can instantly take them down. With the final skill in this line, Chain Finisher, you can immediately perform a second finisher on a basic enemy, so probably after a full focus bar, I think. But still, it sounds really good. The final line in the Defender section gives you Throw, so you can throw enemies in any direction. Pretty cool. We got Ground Strike that lets you smash the ground with square and X after leaping off an enemy or from air combat. And then we got the Epicenter skill that gives Ground Strike a larger blast that can knock down enemies when used from higher elevations. Keep in mind, of course, that apart from these combat skills, you also got your gadgets to use. I went more in depth on everything we know so far about the gadgets. You can check out that video by clicking on the screen and combine that as well with the suit powers that every suit has, and you have a lot to choose from during combat. And yes, there is another section that increases your Webslinger capabilities. The main one is Swing Kick that lets you kick enemies after you hold a square while in the air. Let's move over to the first line on the left with Quick Sip, that skill that lets you web sip a second time without losing altitude. We got the Point Launch Boost skill where you need to press X on contact with the point to massively boost point launch your distance. And the Long Strike skill increases the damage and range of your web strike. The next line focuses on aerial combat with Air Marshal that increases the damage of air attacks and let them generate more focus. We got Air Yank where you need to hold triangle while in the air to yank an enemy upwards and enable air combat moves. Swing Kick will now knock over shield enemies, making them easier to defeat with the Bunker Buster ability. And then we got Blast Off that makes air launch attacks knock back nearby enemies, so you can focus on the character you throw in the air. It has a short recharge between uses, so it does not work all the time. The final line in the web swinging skill tree is for swinging through the city, and as I noted in a previous video, this also gives some extra XP and focus when you do some air tricks. But first you need the air tricks ability to then be able to press triangle and circle simultaneously and move the left joystick around in a direction to do these tricks. The next skill is Quick Recovery that lets you continue swinging after landing by launching you back in the air. And then last but not least is the Charge Jump that lets you launch yourself back into the air when you fall down with R2 and X. So there you have it, a lot of info about the skills, thanks to Fandom Wikia, of course, for writing a lot of it down where we did not have time to do it. And of course, thanks to my editor for making an illustration of the menu so we can kind of know what we can expect, because we still don't have any footage of the skill menu. When of course the game is out, I will have a video going way more in depth on this skill system, telling you what skills you should unlock first and way more. totally subscribe for everything Spider-Man PS4. The news videos are just the beginning here on the channel. Of course, like the video to support the channel and check out my recent video on a new trailer that dropped with some interesting differences between older gameplay we saw and way more, so totally check out that video. And let me know what your favorite skill is that we talked about here. Do you have one? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll of course speak to you next time, and goodbye.